Wouldn't you know it, about 5 hours after I published my video talking about Intellivision potentially announcing a bankruptcy, do we get a mass email from who else but Phil Adams, CEO of Intellivision, discussing the Intellivision Amico and its path forward. No coincidence. So, first off, the Intellivision Amico is an interesting story because you don't know who to trust. You don't know who to believe. There's a lot of people on each side. There's a lot of opinions firmly planted in ground, and a lot of people refusing to move from their positions. Those of you who followed me for a long time know that I have changed my position because I've seen the light. New information has shown up to me and made sense. After I piled it all together, there's a lot of concerning things. But regardless, with all that being said, this email blast that goes out seems like damage control. And there's no other verbiage that I could think of for it. Damage control. Phil Adams writes a very long diatribe discussing the path forward with Intellivision by rehashing all of the same talking points that they've already said. And this is after being in a quiet period for, 4, 5, 6 months? I don't even know. I've lost track. Nor have I even cared to keep up with it. But they emerge from their quiet period where they said they were going into a quiet period to discuss potential mergers and connections with other companies and what they could potentially do moving forward. Angel investors, that kind of stuff. That's the realm that they were discussing. They emerge from their quiet period and it's the status quo. Nothing's changed. They still don't have a partner. They still don't have any money. If anything, they're in a worse position because they burned through more funds during that time. They have less staff in place. They have higher inflation prices to deal with. They're up a creek without a paddle, even further. But anyways, let's go through this email real quick. The first point Phil makes, talking about the Start Engine campaign and how they took that down in February. Yeah, we know. That was almost half a year ago now. Like, that's not new news. You don't need to revisit that. Who cares? Like, you guys tried to squeeze more money out of idiots like me. It didn't work. You pulled it back and you're trying to pretend like that's fine. You didn't need it anyways. Oh, okay. Why even mention that? That's weird. But whatever, be that as may. The next point they talk about, they have dramatically lowered their operating costs. And unfortunately, that has led to a reduction in staff. I mean, 2 + 2 = 4. You got to make the numbers work. Makes sense. I don't understand how having less people at a company is going to get this thing out any sooner. But okay, Phil is just letting us know of the current situation there that we already knew about. This is not a shock. It's not new information. I mean, if you follow anything from anyone, the information's out there. LinkedIn, all these people have been either open for work or left the company or worked somewhere else, or they don't have very many people left working there. Kind of a challenging situation to launch a console with less people, not more, but it's where they find themselves. Moving on. This one's an interesting one. They are working with game development partners to bring classic Intellivision games to life, their old catalog, and potentially the new games that are on the Amico right now to go on other consoles before the Amico even comes out. Which begs the question, why do you need an Amico if you can get this experience elsewhere? For me as an investor, the main selling point for this thing was exclusivity, uniqueness. Feeling like the console offered something that you couldn't get on another console. Now, obviously, they are they're clearly in a very dire situation right now that they have to just throw everything against the wall and see what sticks, because otherwise there's no reason to do this move. But it is peculiar that they find themselves looking inward for financial backing to bring this thing to life, finally, as opposed to investors or crowdfunding. It seemed like for the longest time, they didn't want to spend any money of their own to make this thing happen. I mean, I'm sure they would argue that point, and I'm sure they have their valid arguments for it, but the facts remain on the table that you needed to invest in this thing for it to have a chance back in the day. Now, apparently, none of that was necessary. They had these IPs from the get-go. They have... Intellivision Lives is a game that's already been published. So I don't know about the inner workings of the back end with that and licensing and all that, but stands to reason, if Intellivision owns the license for them, they can just republish Intellivision Lives on the new game consoles. Okay. That might make them a few $1,000 maybe. Hell, maybe even $50,000. If it sells adequately, and I'm being very generous with that, you know, $50,000 for it. Maybe 100 if you're going crazy. Not enough money to get a console out. It's not even close. But maybe if they go the route of delaying the Intellivision Amico, putting it on the back burner, and just selling a plug and play with Intellivision games, they might be able to make some money off that. Might be a little too late. That trend has kind of died down, but you never know. You never know. It's just, to me, again, it's fascinating that they're doing this, because they never did it up to this point. But when back's against the wall and push comes to shove, it's interesting that they're able to open up their catalog to make money on their own by selling their own games, as opposed to trying to squeeze it out of more people. This is fascinating. Again, though, nothing new. This was told to us previously, before they went into a quiet period, that they were going to look into selling their back catalog of games. So now we move on to the, I guess, interesting part. They've begun a test run of production customer-ready units. What the hell does that mean? That means nothing. If you guys have been following the story for a long time, they literally, Tommy Tallarico announced that they've begun production. Like, they literally sent an email out to investors and pre-orderers that production has begun, or pre-production, whatever they wanted to call it. Meaningless. Like, meaningless. Great. You've had upwards of 6 months of quiet period here, and the most information we got is we've begun production of a test run of units. Why even say anything? Just stay quiet. That doesn't... Until you're actually producing the console, why say anything? Just stay in a quiet period. Again, this makes me reflect as to a knee-jerk reaction to my imminent bankruptcy announcement coming, but again, not officially from Intellivision, so who knows? But at the same time, why would you give Intellivision the benefit of the doubt when all they've done is strung people along the entire time for more investment money and more squeezing out of people? And it's just hysterical that they end it with, these units should be completed within the next few weeks. That's like a classic Phil Adam line. In the next few weeks, few weeks, give us a few weeks, we'll make an announcement. Few weeks. They are like professional can kickers. I've never seen anyone be able to kick a can down the road with such perfection and accuracy every time the can shows back up. Why tell us? Like, just wait 3 weeks and say, look what we did. We have something for you. But more talk, less action leads me to believe that this is just in line with what Intellivision always does. talk, nothing to show for it. I do find it interesting that they address the slowness of the refund requests, and I have been hesitant to make a video covering the refund request situation because I've had a lot of people reach out to me and be like, they're not responding, they're not refunding. Eventually, for the most part, people are getting refunded. It's just taking an exorbitant amount of time. That's kind of crazy to me. It's $100, guys. I know you got it. These guys are so afraid to use their own money to cover any cost that if they're out of money in their bank, that they just wait instead of opening up their own wallet to pay people back the money that they stole from them. Interesting. But I guess at least he acknowledged it. He said that they blamed it on lack of employees for why it's so slow. Unacceptable. As a CEO of a video game corporation with a guarantee, I promise to people, saying that if you pre-order, put $100 down, we will guarantee your money back if you change your mind. Unacceptable turnaround time, Phil. Unacceptable. You put me in CEO, that's literally the first thing I would address. We need to take care of that to make sure our reputation doesn't get tarnished any more than it already is. But more important than that is to be a stand-up company and doing the right thing. Blaming it on lack of employees? I don't know, Phil. Instead of writing a 20-mile long email, maybe take some time and focus on the pre-orders yourself and ask how you can lend a hand if you have such short staff there. Just some free advice. I guess you could say the only actual new information or revelations in this email is this last part where he's discussing the production units, the retail units, and the expectation, the hope, big difference, the hope that these will ship later this year, 2022. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I know it takes a long time to ramp up, make a console, get it shipped across the ocean and packaged up and flown on planes to delivery places or out for delivery. It takes a lot longer than 6 months to do that, especially for a small time company. So that's pretty high hopes if they haven't even started them. But okay, at least we have another can kick down the road so we can hold them accountable on December 31st, 2022, saying, hey, Phil, still don't have our Amigos. You said they'd be here. Perfect time to kick the can down the road once again. Oh, yeah. Well, we ran into some snafus with inflation and China and the difficulties with X, Y, and Z. But we are hopeful to get them by, I'm already telling you, mid 2023. We've already signed agreements with so-and-so. And this is what they do. This is what they do. There's no reason for this email. Because all it is more empty promises. Start delivering. Start doing something. Start showing something. And that that retail box opening was an embarrassment. You guys are rushing to prove that you've done something. And all you're doing is exposing that you haven't done anything. Stop it. Do something. Show it. And get people excited for something real that they can purchase tangibly and own. My concern lies more with the back end, the online functionality, the price increase, the one controller now coming with them for a higher price, the exclusive games no longer exclusive, the games that you'd be able to get somewhere else. Why would you pay over $330 for an Amico? Just buy a Switch, a Steam Deck. I mean, I don't understand this. Yes, I know they're in a tough spot. And from their perspective, they're doing all they can. But holy crap, has this been mismanaged to hell. I do like at the end of this email how he gives a shout out to the investors and thanking them. and how much they're important and care about that. You guys haven't sent a follow-up email via Republic since like a month after I invested over, what was it, a year and a half ago? It was a long ass time ago. And as an investor with $10,000 invested in this thing, getting 0 updates from the official investment website for over a year is pretty concerning for a company that claims to care about their investors. Just saying, this sounds like this email should have been attached to all the Republic investors as well, and posted on the Republic investment site. While I haven't checked, I haven't gotten a Republic notification, so I'd assume it's not there, just like everything else. So it's just interesting. It's just interesting. And I know I have the angle of just being doubtful and frustrated, but how else am I supposed to feel about a company that's constantly let me down time and time again? And not only that, ruined not just my channel's reputation, but so many others out there, got infighting in the community, and honestly couldn't give a damn about it. They just care about their money. I feel like, if anything, this is a gigantic learning experience, not just for me, but for everybody in the retro gaming YouTube scene, especially. Some people have learned the lesson. Others, it's going to take a little bit more time. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, you stay smashing.